The assumption is they both have to do with calcium. For the latest in health-related information and ways to save your life, check out the newsletter. D3, as we mentioned before, strong bones. The assumption is that K2 will help you get that calcium out of your artery walls and into the bones where it needs to be. Does K2 actually do that? Well, there's no evidence that it does that directly. Here's where the evidence comes in for K2. There's some enzymes which activated actually take calcium out of bones, osteoclasts, and then other cells, osteoclasts, break down bones and osteoblasts build bones. It's sort of like just any other construction activity. If you've got a house and it's crumbling down and you need to rebuild something, you need to go through the effort of taking out rotten walls and putting in new ones. So there's some deconstruction and reconstruction. Osteoclasts do deconstruction and osteoblasts do reconstruction. Now, why am I going that far down that bunny hole? Because, unfortunately, that's the science and the evidence. Well, what's the connection with vitamin K2? Well, these cells are actually functioning with some enzymes which are also linked to insulin resistance. So there are studies going on now. There's still more work going on trying to understand vitamin K2. And I strongly suspect that K2 mechanism is going to be found to be a lot more complicated than what most people think. I think it's going to end up being related to insulin resistance. And in fact, if you look at the studies out there, I actually found a randomized clinical trial that looked at middle-aged men who had insulin resistance. And this starts to get back to the question of, well, if you take vitamin K2, how much should you take? In that study, they actually had some improvement of insulin resistance. Were they taking the normal 100 micrograms? No, they were taking 400. And that's what I would recommend if you do take vitamin K2. I do recommend vitamin K2 for those of us who are in this risk category, anybody over 50, and, do a screening insulin resistance test and see, even if you're in the 20s, see where you are in that space. I think that K2 is going to be found to be helpful in that space. But again, that's just conjecture based on the kind of information that I just shared with you.